welcome back to Pak Medical Group by NovaCare Health, our podcast, and we're very, very grateful that you're here, especially during the holiday season. Of course, we wish you, great cheer and love and happiness, and we just kind of figured that we wanted to discuss some things about the holidays and that people may be going through, or I wanted Dr. Pak to be able to kind of elaborate on that.
Yeah, I'd love to share some real life stories from my patients about some good things and some funny things that happen in the holiday season. But another topic that we do, I think we should cover is, while everybody, quote unquote, is being very joyful during this time of the year, but it's also could be some of the hardest times for some of our seniors. One great story is Mrs. C, and she lost her husband about like 10 months ago. So she's about to embark on her first Christmas, and which was, and she loved it. She told me that was, ever since she was a kid, it was her eyes light up. I mean, she could not wait for Christmas season. And she believed in Santa until she was like 8 years old. She 100% believed that. That's right. She knew that. She's the one who left the chocolate chip cookie and the milk, and they actually grew up in the Midwest, and so they actually had a chimney, and everything, and so it was a big deal for them. So out of all the holidays, the one that her and her husband shared the greatest amount of joy and effort was Christmas. And then she lost her husband, unfortunately, earlier this year, 9 months ago. And so she, for her, she doesn't know how she's going to handle it. So she talked to me about it, and I talked to her about it. And it's always about when people have trepidation, it goes to your basic instincts, right? And the basic instinct for her that drives most people's behavior is fear, right? And so I asked her, Mrs. C, what are you most fearful about? And the most interesting thing that she said, and it really came to heart, her biggest thing was the sounds. There was a particular sound, and she told me that when her husband passed and things settled in, and of course all her family members and her kids would go out of their way to keep her busy, called her, FaceTimed her, and everything else. But when it really hit her is late at night. And she said, when you're with someone for 60 years, you just get used to certain sounds at certain times of the day. Her husband in the later years always had this nagging cough and around bedtime. And it's funny, she said it annoyed the hell out of her, before bed. And now she talks about that emptiness. There's no cough, it's silence. And she said the silence is so deafening, the way she said it. And so she talked about the sounds, and the part that she's really fearful of the sounds around Christmas, because her husband would always wake up early before her, made sure that there was coffee. She loved pastries, and so that was their big thing that he did for her. And so she always woke up to the sound and smell of new coffee and pastries, and she's really fearful waking up on Christmas morning
and
not having that, how it's going to impact her emotionally. And so, those are some of the real life lessons that you have to go through when you have a loved one that you lose. And so we talked her through that and said, what do you think is going to happen? What do you fear? What your reaction is? And she said, all her kids and grandkids are coming, and she's excited about that, but her big fear is she wants to be able to hold it together emotionally, and she just doesn't want to lose it when she wakes up on Christmas morning, when she doesn't, for the first time, doesn't have that aroma and expecting her husband to be there. So that's her biggest fear, is how she's going to react, and she doesn't
what
want.
would your advice on that be?
I said, you know what? If that's who you are and you want to cry, my recommendation to her is cry as loud and as much as possible. That was my recommendation.
You have
Just
to
be
feel
generous.
those emotions. You
Absolutely.
have to go through that emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
And it is different. The one thing that she's blessed with is family being able to.
Exactly. And again, it's about, she doesn't want to ruin in her eyes, Christmas, for her family. And she thinks if she has an emotional breakdown, she starts crying, that would really dampen the mood. And I told her, I said, you know what, from what you told me about your family and how much they were supportive, how much they loved their grandfather and father, I don't think it would impact it at all. I think it would be a relief valve, and maybe some of them will, join in on the tears and have a group hug and everything. And if you do that, I think another way you can put it is it's like you're giving them permission. You know what I mean? It's like you're giving them permission to grieve with you. And that's the way maybe you should think about it, and she thought about it. I can tell because her eyes looked up and she was thinking about it. She said, I never really thought about it that way, and so sometimes when you're in that grieving kind of pit, you're only so focused on yourself, you don't realize that how it can impact others around you, and how you can actually be a good influence on your family, and that fear that she has of ruining Christmas for her, maybe not that at all. It's just probably a gate that she can open for her family to acknowledge and say, we're hurting too. Because a lot of them, obviously when he passed, when you lose your spouse of 60 years, then everyone's impact is like, how's mom, grandma going to handle it? How do we keep her up? And so probably a lot of them didn't have a chance to really grieve well either. Maybe they didn't feel like they had the permission.
Well, it's almost like, yes, your loved one passed away months ago, but you have to endure that through each holiday because it's the first holiday. Thanksgiving is the first Christmas, it's the first New Year, so it kind of triggers at each point. But what are your thoughts on maybe coming up and creating some new tradition of even honoring that loved one at Christmas or Thanksgiving to kind of include them within that holiday? What are your thoughts on doing something like that?
Yeah, I think, whenever someone, from what my patients tell me, there's several things happen when you endure a major loss around the Christmas time. And one of them is that there's this heaviness, right? There's this like heaviness around, and that's the word they use a lot, is like it feels heavy, emotionally heavy, almost like, they talk about emotional baggage, but it's like, one couple that I talked to, that their friends, what they did, their really close friend, she lost her husband, and she actually did a spoof, like a roast.
Oh,
yeah,
my goodness.
They did a roast, and everyone was like, I don't know how that came. She said it was the best thing ever.
To lighten the mood.
Yeah, lighten the mood, gave everyone permission, told their famous stories about when Grandpa, was sitting there and he fell asleep and laid out a big fart, and everyone just sits there and lay. And so they had all these funny, genuine stories, and they roasted, in honor of him, they roasted him. And I thought that was really interesting, and it turned out great. She said it was one of the best Christmases they can ever remember, and they recorded it. And so I think being creative is a great idea. I think there's many ways that you can honor someone, not the traditional, like the best memories. I mean, that roasting thing I think was a really interesting idea. Yeah. I mean, be creative.
Right. Because, when somebody passes, I mean, they're, it's not them, it's the living that are the ones that are behind and left struggling. But I really feel like you need to do it in your own way. You need to make sure that if you want to have your special dinner still that you've always cooked, why not do it?
Yeah.
Do it, and in honor of them. Invite the friends, invite the family, do the roasting. Here goes yes. And Rosita and Paco, they agree.
Yeah.
They totally agree.
You gotta put them out.
Our Christmas dogs.
So, I think the answer to the question is, and I get that, what is the right or proper way? My honest answer from the experiences I learned from my patients is that there is no right or wrong. It's what you feel in your heart, and as long as it's genuine, I think that's what matters. That's the most important thing. That's how you get through it. And I think it's much easier to get through it with others that are grieving rather than being alone, you know? And then the other, I think, knee-jerk reaction sometimes isn't always correct either, is, you know, when you're sad, don't be alone, you know? We have that like almost ingrained, and that's not necessarily true. Right? Everybody grieves a different way. And just because somebody at the funeral doesn't outwardly start breaking down, falls on their knees, that doesn't mean that they're not grieving. It's just that people grieve differently. And also another big thing is the timelines are different. I actually had a patient that, you know, the family members came to me and said there's something wrong with grandma because she never cried when her husband died. And this was going on month 3. And they all requested either a full neurology evaluation or a psych evaluation. And I said, you know, I was just honest, have you noticed any other odd behavior? Like she's getting rid of things that are valuable, doing anything extraordinary that's different? And he said, no. And I said, you know, 3 months is a long time, but I'm not sure that there should be alarm bells as long as she's still functioning. And the irony of that is 2 weeks later, 3 months and 2 weeks later, they called me and said, you're right, Dr. Pak, she lost it.
Yeah.
She just totally just broke down on her own terms, and she lost it. And she cried for like 2 days straight. And so, you know, what I learned is that every person grieves in their own way, and it's very personal, it's different. So not only the way they do it, but the timing is quite different. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we try to do as many senior activities as we possibly can for our patients and for the community throughout the holidays. So, you know, please always look on our website or our social media pages for those incredible events that we actually throw. And join us, come out, get out there in the community, get out there and be around people and celebrate the holidays with us. So.
Yeah, we would love for you to be part of the community and give solutions to each other, because that's the best way that we all thrive, honestly. I mean, we can all learn from each other and celebrate each other. So, looking forward to our next podcast.
Yes, Merry Christmas,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas. Bye.